The Epstein files deadline is tomorrow. The U.S. Department of Justice has until Friday to release the next batch of files, and members of the Democratic Party are putting pressure on this government to ensure that they are revealed on time.
If the administration withholds some documents unlawfully, we will know. If they abuse narrow exemptions to hide the truth, we will know. And there will be serious legal and political consequences.
1 month ago, the Epstein Files Transparency Act was signed into law, and that requires the Justice Department to make the documents public in a searchable and downloadable format within 30 days of its signing. But it remains unclear which documents will be released, when they will be made public, and what they might reveal. So joining us to help answer those questions this morning is CTV News political analyst Eric Ham. Eric, good morning. Let's start with this deadline. There has been a lot of distraction around these Epstein files. And listening to Chuck Schumer, I'm curious, do we think that this deadline is going to be met? Will the documents come out by Friday?
It's unclear. We simply do not know if Pam Bondi, the Attorney General, will have these documents released. And of course, the Democratic Congress is certainly looking for these documents, and they are prepared to actually fight to ensure that they are released. However, it still remains to be seen if, in fact, the White House is going to actually respond in kind.
Well, Chuck Schumer highlighting some of the concerns that are maybe the documents won't be released on time, they won't be released in full. Does the law require, well, what does the law require around the release of the documents?
The law actually does require that they had 30 days to actually release these documents. And right now, if in fact they're not released, what we could see is these would be considered impeachable offenses, high crimes and misdemeanors, because we're talking about a clear violation of the law. Now, because Congress is controlled by the president's party, it's highly unlikely that we will see an impeachment process. But given the fact that we do know that so many Republicans are now either submitted their resignations or will be leaving shortly, that there is a strong possibility that some could actually push for the impeachment of the Attorney General Pam Bondi. And again, it would just be another sign of the cracks that we're seeing in the MAGA base right now.
You know, up here in Canada, when you apply for a freedom of information, which is a different process, but documents can be released to you, but then often they're really redacted. I mean, like chunks of black. So I'm wondering, does the law allow for that? Can they release the documents but have redactions?
Yes, certainly. In fact, we see that happen all the time. And of course, because we're talking about so many victims and so much sensitive information, I suspect if the documents are released, that there will be a lot of redactions. Now, members of Congress certainly will have access to much more information than the public. And we already know that Congress does have an enormous amount of information already. In fact, we know that they have been given access to more than 95,000 documents from the Epstein estate personally. And so they still have much of that information that they have yet to release. But also, I think what colors this entire ordeal is the fact that we got this new article from the Vanity Fair from Donald Trump's White House chief of staff, who says that there was no actual list, that Bill Clinton had never been to Epstein Island, and that Donald Trump was, in fact, in many of those documents. And so I think that just fuels the flames. And I think now the showdown is actually on, and it's going to be, again, another confrontation between Democrats and Republicans over these next few hours.
Well, one thing we have seen was last Friday, the House Oversight Committee did release almost 100 new photos that came directly from the Epstein estate. Trump is in some of those photos. I want to play for everybody, in case they missed it, what President Trump had to say when he was asked about being in the pictures.
I haven't seen it, but I mean, everybody knew this man. He was all over Palm Beach. He has photos with everybody. I mean, almost there are hundreds and hundreds of people that have photos with him. So that's no big deal. I know nothing about it.
So the narrative has changed from didn't know him, wasn't a friend of his, to listen, he was there everywhere. It's possible that I took photos with him. Had these images, do they seem to shake the faith in Trump by his supporters?
No, it's not so much that the faith is shaken. It's that Donald Trump made this a signature campaign issue. that he would release all of this information, that he would bring transparency back to Washington. And the fact that he hasn't done so is what has actually become problematic for his base. And it's just another issue that, again, is showing that there's just this burgeoning civil war that we're seeing play out right now between President Trump and much of his base.
All right, I want to ask you really quickly, Eric, about the president's message last night. He addressed Americans in a rare primetime TV appearance around 9 p.m. Eastern. I'm going to play a little bit of what he had to say and get your response out of it.
1 year ago, our country was dead. We were absolutely dead. Our country was ready to fail, totally failed. Now, we're the hottest country anywhere in the world.
You know, Trump used the opportunity to tout what he saw as the benefit of tariffs. One of those was to be able to cut some checks for the warrior dividend. Tell us what we know. Tell us what you know about that.
Yeah, this was actually breaking news. Perhaps the only piece of breaking news that we got from the address last night, that the president is going to issue a check of $1,776, which symbolizes when the country was founded. And these checks will go to every service member who is currently active in the military. And it's another way for the president to try to tout the tariffs, which are right now we're waiting any moment for when the Supreme Court will actually rule if, in fact, these tariffs are legal. But again, this was something that the president announced last night. And again, the president continues to tout these tariffs as actually a boon to the U.S. economy and ultimately to American consumers.
Always great to speak with you. Eric Ham, CTV News political analyst. Have a good weekend.
Thank you.
If you like that video, make sure to subscribe to the Your Morning YouTube feed, where you can find all kinds of new content posted every weekday morning.